Zambia Blog Talk Radio.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Blog Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Blog Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Blog Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows. Hi everyone, welcome back to our second show. Today, remember we said we're going to do a double feature and we'll be talking to one of the most exceptional business leaders in the country of Zambia. Please do tag a friend and let everybody know that Zambia Blog Talk Radio, we are back live again. This is a special feature you cannot afford. This gentleman is gifted, is endued with wisdom, with business ideas. I think these are not earthly things. These ideas he has, they come from a divine source. We are not going to waste any more time. Let's go ahead straight and welcome our guest, Mr. Dumisani Ncube. Is that the right way I said it, Dumisani?
Good try. Ncube.
Oh, Ncube.
Yes.
Welcome to the show and thank you for doing this.
The pleasure is mine. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Okay, the first question I have for you is that how did this all begin? I mean, what drove you into the entrepreneurship line and the line of business? You know, generally as a people, as Africans, you go to school, you go to college, you look forward to getting a good job. What drove Dumisani in the direction that you were driven?
All right, great. So my entrepreneurship journey, I didn't have a plan to say I would really want to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So it was accidental that I turned out to be an entrepreneur. And how I got to discover this was that, you see, I was born in a village, typical village, very, 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 very poor background.
Oh, wow.
So, when you're in the village, herding animals and whatnot, when a number of you are poor, poverty becomes normal,
Oh, yeah.
It is just normal. So then I got to go to a very special school in my grade 8. So in Zambia, you do grade 1 to grade 7, and that's called primary. Then yes. Grade 8 to 12, that is secondary education. So when I moved to grade 8, I moved to a school called, Matero Boys Secondary School.
Yes.
Now, what makes this school very special is that it is a mission school. It has a very high cutoff point. So to make it that side, you must have performed exceptionally well in your grade 7 results. Mm-hmm. And because it's a mission school, the charges are very low. So it is one of the very few schools in Zambia where you find the rich and the poor. People meet based on, merit, and that is academically.
Yes.
So it was when I go to Matero Boys that I then got to realize that actually we are poor. Because you see, when you're in poverty, poverty is normal and you call the poor bosses. So life is normal. So when I got that side, I then realized that actually we are poor because there's some guys who would buy, there's a certain brand of a drink called Apple Max and a pie at break time. Then they would buy the same thing at lunchtime. The kind of money they would spend on a day, it is money that would budget on as a family. This is just a kid who is in grade 8, is spending like that. So that in itself made me begin realizing that I think there's a huge discrepancy between my lifestyle and the lifestyle of these others. So it is what taught me to begin thinking of how we can up my level of life, my standard of living. And luckily, two things worked in my favor. So the first thing was that I was pretty good in school.
Okay.
And there was a subject called technical drawing. So technical drawing is a subject where you do TD, you do lines, you know, drawings. So I was so good and so fast at it, such that in a period, I would do my work and some work of another friend. So they would then pay me, you know, for doing that. So that's how I then began making a bit of money. So then we could also, you know, get to do, to also buy Apple Macs by helping my friends in class. Then I moved on to begin selling pamphlets because some were interested in some of the materials I was utilizing. So I began selling pamphlets. So from the little profits that I made, it then, you know, it felt so nice to be able to live, you know, a life close to the life others were living. So it was from those profits that I then decided to say, I think this whole thing of, you know, selling, you know, making people pay, I think is a nice thing. I think it can make me, you know, equalize. So that's how the whole entrepreneurship thing, you know, built on from then on. So those two scenarios gave birth to me and gave to the dream of entrepreneurship.
Okay. So what were your first, what word shall we use? What were your first formal, serious business ventures that you engaged in? Not the ones you've talked about in school where you did things for fellow students and they paid you. So what would you say were the first step you took to start what you might call a serious formal business? And what was it?
All right. So I am trying to think of where the serious formal one comes in from, but maybe I'll summarize it this way.
Okay.
So I'm in school, I'm selling pamphlets.
Yes.
Then from pamphlets, I go to the village.
You went back to the village?
Yes, I went back to the village during holidays. I then started a kiosk. So in Zambia, we call it kantemba, where you sell, you know, basic things that are just utilized, you know, by villagers there. You know, if it is cooking oil, you see how you buy, you know, maybe 750 mils of cooking oil or 1 liter, you know, bottles of cooking oil. What I would do is that when I buy such bottles, I would then decant into, you know, smaller mils like 25 mils for what people could afford at the village. So it was something very small. So having 3 bottles of 750 mils, I would even beat my chest to say we are stocked up. So it was something really small. So it was from the kiosk. Then from that kiosk, I began trading in goats, you know, buying goats from deeper villages to sell in Lusaka. And that was all in my teenage years. I was about 15, 16. Then when I got done with my secondary education, I started importing duvets, you know, blankets and clothes from Botswana, which is a neighboring country. So I would import, you know, bring in Zambia. Then later on began importing from South Africa, you know, getting clothes, duvets, and, you know, MP3 players, you know, just basically electronic gadgets. Now, that was not an official business. It was unofficial because it was not registered. So it was basically trading. But it had grown a bit. It was up until 2010 when I was robbed of my capital in South Africa. That same year, coincidentally, I formed the first company with 2 other friends, which we called Glad Tidings Software Limited. It was a software company, and we had a product called Glad Tidings eSchool, which is a school management system. And by the way, it is the most used school management system to date in Zambia. And that was founded when I was 20 years old. So that was the first formal business that I can point at. But prior to that, I thought if I just said we started with Glad Tidings Software Limited, I might leave out, you know, the key information of importing things from Botswana, because all those things were building me towards starting the first formal registered business.
Okay. You've mentioned in your answer to this to say when you were robbed of your capital, what happened? Is that something you like to talk about? What happened?
Oh, yes. And by the way, I've actually made a couple of interesting losses you know, in my entrepreneurship journey. But for that particular one, I'd gone to South Africa. So there's a place called Park Station. I'd gone to order stuff, just as usual.
Yes.
But unfortunately for that particular trip, I was, approached by guys that had knives. So I was robbed at knife point. Yeah, so they got all the money that I had in my pockets, like literally everything. The only money that survived was in my inner pocket. And of course, don't ask me which inner pocket. Just know that there was a little money in the inner pocket, which was enough for transport back to Lusaka. And with a little change, and I bought myself a suit as a reminder that I was once a businessman. So all the capital just went down like that.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. So you talk about the e-school, and obviously you transitioned, time has passed, and now we are talking about, let me pull this up. We're talking about radical entrepreneur. I like that phrase. How did that, what made you could have just said entrepreneur, or what made you put the word radical in front of radical entrepreneur? What makes Dumisani stand out?
You see, my approach to entrepreneurship is radical, literally radical. So if you listen to my story, I've made many radical steps. Which one should I pull up? Because there are too many, but maybe let me pull this one. So one time, one person wanted a motorbike, but in Zambia, the cheapest motorbike at that time, it was going for 15,900. Okay. And it was a brand called Honda. So this guy, I told him to say, listen up, I can supply you with a motorbike at 8,000 kwacha. It will not be as big as this one. It will be something smaller, but certainly I can supply you at 8,000 kwacha. And he didn't have enough money to buy the one for 15,900, but at least 8,000 he had. So I told him, say, listen up, pay me 5,000 kwacha. Once I deliver, you pay me the 3,000 kwacha balance. So since he had nowhere to buy a bike at that amount, he took the risk of giving me the 5,000. Now, at that point, I had heard that motorbikes are cheap in Mozambique. There are very small motorbikes which are cheaper in Mozambique. So Mozambique is a neighboring country. Yes. So when he paid me the 5,000, I got on a bus from Lusaka, got to a town called Katete. From Katete, got on a taxi, got to a border called Chanida. From Chanida, got on a truck, got to a town called Tete, which is in Mozambique. And indeed, I found motorbikes that side way cheaper. And of course, there were a number of challenges.
You didn't need to go so deep into Mozambique, just a border town.
No. There's a town called Tete. Now, it is not a border town.
Oh, okay.
It is, I think it's maybe 300-400 kilometers, if not more.
Oh, well, that's quite deep. That's deep inside. That's deep inside.
Yeah, that's deep inside Mozambique, really. Yeah. So I got that side, and of course I faced challenges. So one of the key challenges was that there was communication barrier. So they don't use English as the official language; they use Portuguese. So even in our negotiations, it was on a calculator. You type, the amount, then show gestures to say, no, this is too much. Bring it down. Then you type. So it was that kind of a thing. But finally, I managed to get one. Then the assistant in the shop at least knew to speak how to speak Chewa. So then he said, with 1 liter of petrol, you can cover 150 kilometers with this motorbike. So I said, okay, 1 liter, 150 kilometers. So then I said, okay. I looked at the kilometers to Zambia. Then I looked at how much it would cost me to put it on a truck or bus. Then I realized that it was cheaper to ride it than to put it on a bus or truck. But there's a problem. I've never ridden a bike in my life before. So then I told the guy to say, show me how do you ride a motorbike. Myself in the village, we used to ride bicycles for hours and hours. But in this case, it is a motorbike. I'm just seated. And this thing is pushing itself. I mean, how can I fail? So in my mind, but do this, show me how to ride the motorbike. So he shows, no, this is the clutch, this is the brake. Then I tell him, take me to a road leading to Zambia. So he takes me to a road leading to Zambia. Then I said, okay, fine. So this is the road. I put a full tank in that motorbike, a container of, petrol behind.
Yes.
Then I started riding the motorbike in a foreign land, no driving license. It was the first time. I learned changing gears on the way, riding back to Zambia. And this is like, more than 1,000 kilometers,
Yes.
Heading back to Zambia. In fact, it is 1,000, about 1,200 Ks to where I was heading to in a foreign land. So that's how I started off. But unfortunately, after 200 kilometers, I just saw oil on my shoe. The bike broke down, and that was around 1920. At 22 to midnight, a bus made a stop. That gave me help. But when the bus stopped from the point where the bike broke from,
yes,
the hastiness with which they loaded, the bike onto the bus, it was so fast. But after starting off, they then said, you see, here it is a national park. There are wild animals here. You could have died without any form of trace. So, but anyway, we got to the border. The bike was fixed. But from then on, I did not get to ride it again. I put it on a truck, got to Lusaka, landed it for 4,800. And the person paid me the 3,000 balance. Now, that is one of, the many radical things I have done. So
wow.
I have just been radical, hence the name, The Radical Entrepreneur.
That's amazing, dude. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, were you even calculating or doing the arithmetic or mathematics about your travel, getting the bike, and that is really radical.
It has always been like that.
Yeah.
It has always been like that.
So what did this push you to? What did this push you to? When you reflected on that experience, you said to yourself, what did you say to yourself?
All right. So you see, now the funny thing is, after the breakdown, so this is around 19 to 20 hours, and there are no vehicles passing at that particular time. About 3-4 trucks that passed, they didn't stop. So then I went on the side of the road, used the helmet as a pillow. That motorbike helmet. I used it as a pillow, and I was looking into, the skies and the stars. And I said this, I just smiled. I said, you see, one day I'll share this story.
Yes.
Of how my entrepreneurship journey, because I had no ounce of doubt that I'll be a very powerful guy. So I looked up and just smiled. So even such a scenario just kept me encouraged. Like, no, this is a story for the future.
That's right.
But you see, the funny thing is that at that same spot, the noise that was coming from the bushes, I don't know whether those were birds or what. It was like that horror movie kind of noise. So I said, this place doesn't feel so safe. So I decided to start walking back to Zambia with a motorbike, pushing up until at about midnight. That's when, that bus stopped. But to just share this, all those little pieces that I went through were teaching me one thing, to say the road to success is not easy. It will call for hard work. It will call for, sacrifice. It will call for pushing. So I was comforted because I knew where I was heading to. So some of those struggles for me were the means to the end. And I was not deterred in any way. And I think I can even share one thing when it comes to hard work. I remember when I said from Matero Boys, I got into a kiosk, then I got into trading in gods. When I would get into deeper villages, I noticed that villagers loved barter system, where instead of selling their gods for cash, they would rather get the things that they need from the main city, which is Lusaka, be it blankets, be it whatever it is that you can take to them, you can then exchange with God. So one of the things that I would take were bicycles, not motorbikes. So one gave me about 4 or 5 gods. So on a typical arrangement, it would work out this way. I would buy a bicycle in Lusaka, ride it to my village. Then the following morning, around 04, I would set off from my village, ride into deeper villages where I would reach maybe around 9. Then by 10 hours, I would have exchanged my bicycle with maybe 4 or 5 goats. After exchanging that way, I would then, since I was limited in terms of capital, I would then tie the goats one next to the other. Then I would start walking with those goats back to my village. And so it's a journey that would take me walking from 10 hours to get to my, that is 10 a.m.
Yes.
To get to my village, I would reach maybe at 1 a.m. the following morning.
Wow.
Now, that is continuous walking. Now, you see, goats are very energetic. So the first half of the journey, they are running from one end of the road to the other. The second half of the journey, they are tired. They start sleeping on the road. So I tried whipping them, it wasn't helping. Pushing them, it wasn't helping. Until I devised the way of tickling them. You know, in our local language, we say kutekunya. So I would tickle them. Once I tickle them, they would be re-energized for the next 25 minutes. Of course, don't ask me where I used to tickle them. Just know that once I tickle them, they would be re-energized. So it is a journey that called for serious hard work. By the time I get to my village, I would literally feel, you know, the blood flow from under my feet. It called for hard work. But even under those circumstances, I was still comforted, knowing one thing, that one day I'll make it. And this goes to underscore a simple thing. All of us dream of that beautiful life, the life of driving nice vehicles, big, fast vehicles, living in beautiful houses, double story, just nice houses, traveling the globe. We dream of that. But not all of us are willing to put in the work to do that. Now, the fact that I was working hard, I knew that I was building a trait that would be that would make it easier for me to make it in the future, because everyone was lazy at the time and I was doing what others were failing to do. And I knew one thing, which I should actually, you know, indicate here. Human beings are naturally lazy. You know, we are naturally lazy. We work hard for 2 major reasons. There could be those exceptional cases, but for most human beings, we work hard for 2 major reasons. One, to maintain our lifestyle, so that we can continue enjoying the life that you're enjoying. Number 2, to attain a certain lifestyle which is better than the life where we are. That is why we work hard. And that is why if you ask an average person to say, if we gave you all the wealth there is in this world, you can buy any vehicle you want. In fact, you can blow $1 million every day and you will not, you know, use up all your wealth. In fact, your children will still find it and they can still be spending $1 million every day. It will go on up to the grandchildren. Would you be waking up at 04 to prepare for work? Or would you be waking up at 04 to study? An average person would say, no, but I mean, why should I do that? Why? Because we work. We wake up at 04 to prepare for work. We wake up at 05 to prepare for work because we want to maintain our lifestyle or to attain a better lifestyle. That underscores one thing. We are naturally lazy, because if we had the money, we wouldn't work as hard. We work hard because we want to have the money. So with that said, I learned the trait of hard work pretty early. So to answer your question, that has helped me so much to get to where I have gotten to.
Excellent. On our special feature today, our guest is Mr. Dumisani Ncube, and we are talking about radical entrepreneurship. We are now going to transition to how they moved on to DLN Technologies, DLN Entrepreneurship Institute, and everything. And what we will be talking about is we are trying to encourage everybody watching, whether you're watching live or you're going to watch our recorded show. We want to encourage you to understand the upcoming masterclass on July 4th, 2022. And we are determined to raise 100 people to attend that. Let me bring in my colleague here, my co-host, Mr. Mashonga, who's been pestering Mr. Dumisani to come on the show as we transition here. So, Kasuluba, welcome. We are now transitioning to talk about, we need to start pushing the message about the upcoming masterclass. We've got the background of how he started to inspire those listening and watching. You want to go to Kasuluba, or you want me to ask? You go and ask Mr. Dumisani your question.
I think go ahead, Uncle Nathan. I'll come in a
Okay.
bit just later. How are you, Mr. Ncube? Been quite a while.
I'm well. How are you?
Okay, he's also brought in another pronunciation. We won't go there. So,
oh, it's Ncube, right? Oh no.
Fast forward here. Now we are moving fast forward in time, and we have DLN Technologies. We have DLN Entrepreneurship Institute. We have the masterclass. I mean, that's a cluster of things I've put together. Obviously, you reached a certain point in life and said, the things I have gone through in life, there has to be, I need to communicate these to people, to my fellow citizens, for them to understand how this thing works, and if people really want to succeed at how they are doing. Just talk to us about that and how the journey began from, I think this falls under DLN Entrepreneurship Institute, right? You can speak to that.
All right, great. So just for the sake of those that may be interacting with me for the first time. So, I mean, from the first software company, that Glad Tidings Software Limited, I then got into transport business where I bought, trucks and whatnot. And I was a very young guy then. I was about 22 and I had these 30-ton trucks. Then from then on, when I was 25, I founded DLN Technologies, which is the one that you're talking about, where we do, ATM cards, personalized ATM cards, and banks are using our machines and software. So from DLN Technologies, we've then moved on to, DLN Media, DLN Entrepreneurship Institute. But what has brought me to the fore has been the issue of sharing on entrepreneurship. So prior to, sharing on entrepreneurship, I believed, many people that are doing pretty well, that, you don't need to talk about, entrepreneurship. Just make your money in silence. Coins make noise, notes don't make noise. So I believed in that. It was up until I visited France, and I wasn't treated so well for a basic reason that I would like to believe, because I was then coming in from a third world country. Okay. And it was for the first time that I even went to court, because I said, I'm suing you. And we went to court to allow me to get into France because, it's a very interesting story. But it was from that scenario that I realized that making it alone is not enough. We need to make it a number of us. And that is the only way we are going to be respected out there. So it was from that scenario that I began sharing on entrepreneurship. Hence DLN Entrepreneurship Institute and a couple of other things that followed, and the conferences that I tend to hold now in Zambia. And this year we have what is known as the Redefining Masterclass on the 4th of July at the National Hero Stadium. Last year we had what we called Africa Must Think, where we had over 10,000 people gathered at the stadium. It was the biggest, gathering of entrepreneurs in Africa. And this year we thought of taking it a couple of notches higher to have the biggest gathering of entrepreneurs in the world. And we're looking at over, 30,000 people gathered at the stadium this year on the 4th of July.
Awesome. Jumping as Uncle Nathan is moving and cruising, would like to now jump into the Redefining Masterclass. You've had a couple of conferences over the past years, which have been successful. Coming now to the one that you're having now, what do you think will make it big? What will attract the numbers? Because looking at the one that you had last year, it was because of the speakers that you brought in, and people were glued. They were eager to come in to attend. So what will make people eager to come into this year's event?
All right, great. So if you looked at the trend through, we have actually been growing year after year. So it has nothing necessarily to do with the speakers that were invited. They could have played a role, yes, but it is a movement that has been growing. Like take for instance, in 2020, when we had a masterclass, because what we do is we interchange a conference, then masterclass, conference, and masterclass. So 2019, you had a conference. It was called Africa Must Think Again, by the way. But in 2020, when you had the masterclass, it was way bigger than the Africa Must Think conference for 2019. So the masterclass for 2020 was way bigger, and we filled the biggest gathering at the biggest auditorium in Zambia, which is Mulungushi International Conference Center. And in fact, there was almost a stampede there. That is what led us to go to the stadium in 2021. So we did not just jump because we had filled the biggest auditorium in the country. So that's how we went to, the stadium. So the movement has been growing. Now, here's what has been making the movement grow. Jobs are now difficult to find. You see, in our Zambian setup, in the 90s, 80s, Zambia had, two universities. It was, the Copper Belt University and the University of Zambia. So if you graduated, a job will be waiting for you on a platter. But now Zambia has over 50 registered universities. So getting a job has become very, very difficult now. And if you graduated, as an example, for certain courses like teaching, if you graduated in 2000 as a teacher, you'd be posted instantly. But now, if you graduated as a teacher, up until maybe this year, maybe things might be a bit different, but still, if you graduated, you have the qualifications, you would not qualify to apply as a teacher. In fact, at the trend that the government was employing in the previous years, it would take you at least 50 years before you are posted as a teacher. And that's not about teaching, law, and all these other professions. Getting a job has just become very difficult. And this is the case actually across Africa. So there is need to think of entrepreneurship. So it is a movement which is growing based on the need, on the necessity to head in that particular direction. So to answer your question, it is a movement that has been growing, and more people are seeing the need to head in that direction. And the events that I tend to hold, what has made them stand out a bit is that, you see, in the past, people that would talk about entrepreneurship are people who would, just talk about entrepreneurship when they are not entrepreneurs themselves. Does it make sense? People who will tell you that you can make it when they themselves have not made it. So we are coming from that background. So people had no respect for people that would share on entrepreneurship. But a little twist that has taken place now is that we who are talking about it, we are talking from the point of experience to say, listen up, I went through this, I did this doesn't work. I think you can go this way. Now, because of that, these seem to be a lot more practical. And because of that, the movement has been growing and more people, are believing in this. And I should indicate that last year, there was a bit of social media hype after the event because people were then saying, how can people pay to attend, to attend to motivational speakers? I mean, that is how they are putting it. So how can people pay to attend to motivational speakers? Then others were saying, there was an international artist who had just come in Zambia. He's a Nigerian superstar. So he had come in Zambia. And so it was on one weekend, there was a Nigerian superstar. Then this weekend where we had the conference, there was a local superstar who was launching an album, the most prominent Zambian artist. Then there was my event on a Sunday, the same Africa Must Think. So I saw a lot of pictures of people comparing which one was the biggest, with the Nigerian superstar or the Zambian, what, or is it this, or was it this conference? Now, for me, the fact that they could compare an entertainment event with a self-development event, for me, that was success. because prior to that moment, you could not compare an entertainment event with a self-development event. It was not just possible. So this underscores the fact that the movement is growing, and I believe this year it will be way bigger.
You know what? Let me throw in a question there. I like the phrase that you use, self-development. And coming to our theme, everybody watching, which is appearing on the flyer I have on the back, Why Africa Must Think. Dumisani, speak to us about the importance as a people, understanding the value of investing into self-development rather than on entertainment. And there's nothing wrong with entertainment, but it looks like, and you see, this brings us back to why you are a radical entrepreneur, because people need to understand the value of investing in self-development than just entertainment, because we seem to get things twisted. We are willing to spend on entertainment rather than investing in self-development. What is the problem? What have you envisioned to be the problem?
I think it is basically, where we are coming from. We are so much in this thing of instant gratification. Let me get the results now. Let me feel the impact now. So when you talk of entertainment, when you go to watch soccer, you'll be entertained and you feel nice at that moment. So you get the results instantly. When you want to entertain yourself, so you go to watch, a musical, event, you feel the results instantly. So when you get to drink and party, you will get the results of feeling nice instantly. But when you get to read a book, you may not get the results instantly. So for that one, results will come in at a later time. Now, because you're not getting results instantly, we don't get to appreciate, such. But you see, ultimately, we need to realize that you are paid based on the value you have added on yourself. It is as simple as that. You are paid based on the value you have added on yourself. So how then do you add value? You add value on yourself by having knowledge that others do not have, like many others do not have, by having unique knowledge, or by being more knowledgeable. That is how you add value on yourself, one, or by sharpening your skills to become, very well skilled at what you're doing. And then you add value on yourself. But the key line is that you are paid based on the value you have added on yourself. And that is why you would have one person working in Zambia and one is getting, $100 per month. Then in the same country, Zambia, we have people that are getting, $20,000 per month. This is in the same country. And all these two are working for 30 days, or is it they are working for the same period? It is a month. You are paid per month. $100, one is getting $20,000. The one who is getting $20,000 is getting $20,000 because they have added more value on themselves through the knowledge they have and through the skills that they have. So people need to then realize that, acquiring knowledge is extremely important. Acquiring knowledge is extremely important in positioning yourself very well. That is extremely important. So if there's anything that you need to get knowledge. And that does not just apply when you are getting, employed. In fact, even in business, you realize that people who are knowledgeable in a particular business are the ones that tend to survive more, endure more, and get to have, more profits. And by the way, why do you think we pay consultants? We pay consultants because they know more than we do. They have more knowledge than we do. Why do we pay tuitions? We pay tuitions because the lecturer has more knowledge than we do. So if you are to position yourself very well, getting knowledge is a no-brainer. It's something that you should, actively pursue. So with that said, in as we get to have entertainment, it is okay, to refresh, but refresh after having done productive things. That is extremely important. So attending such gatherings is extremely important because it then positions you to then have this knowledge, which is very important.
Before I jump to the next question, what you're from saying reminds me of the video. You had done a video where this young man came to you and he was saying he was going to be way richer than you, and then you were like, very well. How old are you? Was he between 20 25, if I'm not mistaken? Then you went ahead and you asked him a question. You asked the question to say, okay, fine. What do you do daily? You are saying that you'd be richer. Do you club? How often do you club? How often do you go out? How often do you do this and that? And this particular individual responded to say they spend most of the time on non-productive things, And then you went on to say, how can you then challenge me and say you're going to be way richer if you're doing nothing to develop yourself? So personal development then is very important.
Oh, yeah. And actually, just to maybe add on there, there are key things to factor in. Young people have a way of comforting, themselves. You have a way of comforting ourselves. We threaten success. We threaten success by saying, me, wait for me. Me, when I grow older. Me, wait. Just wait for me. Then you realize that time moves so fast. You realize that before time, you have grown and you are now old. Now, when you have grown, the narrative changes. You start saying, me, if only I was young. Me, if only I was young. You see, we keep looking at what we do not have. And this is the challenge that we have. And I see young people would say, okay, so that guy is there. And like for that particular example, so this guy says, you see, I'm just 25. And you are 31. By the time I reach your age, I will be doing some of these massive projects that you're doing. He's forgetting that at 25, I was running DLN technologies. At 22, I already had tracks. So if you are to compare and use myself as a benchmark, don't look at where I am now. Look at where I was the time I was of your age. And I even gave it as an example to say, if I'm looking at Dangote is way older than myself. He's in his 50s, if not 60 now. So I can't say, me, by the time I get to Dangote's age, I'll be better than him because I have a lot of time between now and then. The question I should ask is that, what was Dangote doing the time he was of my age? And clearly, I even indicated in the same video to say, I think I'm underperforming. Because the time Dangote was, 31, 32, 33, the kind of projects was pushing projects of $100 million. So if I'm not pushing projects worth $100 million now, then it simply means I have to pull my socks up, because that is the only way I'll get where Dangote is. Let us forget about, you sleep and the following day you wake up, abracadabra, and you are rich. It doesn't work that way. Getting wealthy is a process, and we need to realize that, and we need to embrace that. And getting knowledge and self-development, we need to be deliberate on that.
Amazing.
Well said. Awesome. Not to want you to spill the beans just yet, as regards the upcoming masterclass. If we look at last year, you held the biggest entrepreneurship gathering in Africa, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
with over about 10,000 attendees. You made mention to say you are looking at holding the biggest masterclass in the world of about 30,000. What are you looking at that will enable you hold such a huge gathering? Especially that all across the world, such numbers were looking at its musical performers or things like that, like what we've said.
Okay, great. I think the starting point is that all these years and the works that we've actually been doing, I believe we have been sowing a seed to say this is the route to go, this is the direction to go, this is I think it's also just a way of celebrating excellence. The world can gather on entertainment, but the point is that we can also gather on things that have to do with, self-development. And
That's right.
I truly believe, and I feel great about this whole thing. It is not just about numbers, but you see, you need to realize that if you are to have a revolution would easily kick in and be achieved if more people are joining the movement. So it is extremely important, because others would now begin thinking of entrepreneurship when they see that a number of people are thinking in this particular direction. And it might interest you to note that maybe two key things that are quite interesting. So the first one is that people that were critiquing and making fun of the previous event, if you've actually been following me on social media, you see that they are among us the first ones to even come in and say, listen up, this year I'll be one of the attendees at the gathering. Why? Because they are repenting of their sins. Oh, wow, they are changing their ways. So that is one. Then number two, it has also proven that these gatherings are impacting lives positively. There are people that are doing phenomenally well, and they are now able to show that their lives have changed. Because you see, sometimes it is not about just doing something and people gathering. It is also about the impact. So we are seeing the impact in a number of business people. Like, take for instance, last year's event, one of the guys that came in and contributed, 50,000 kwacha to the event is one of the attendees to the first conference. Now, 50,000 is about maybe $3,000 dollars plus. Now, this is a person who brings, that kind of money. Is it 3,500 or 4,000? Brings this kind of money to just say, thank you for having impacted my life this way, and I'm contributing this to this gathering. And that is just one of the many examples of people that attended these gatherings and their lives have been positively impacted. So on those two things, I believe we are growing and things are getting a lot better.
Excellent, excellent. So the event is coming up on 4th of July, which is a Monday. I know it's a public holiday in Zambia. So people, you do not have an excuse. We are going to be on a campaign to make sure we try to send about 100 people to that event. And also our young man here is going to attend on a VIP ticket. So Dumisani, if people want to attend, what do they need to do? Where do they get the tickets? Online, where do they need to go to buy the tickets?
All right, so you can get the tickets from any ShopRite outlet. So ShopRite is the biggest supermarket in Zambia. So you can go to any ShopRite outlet and secure your ticket.
Across the nation, not just in Lusaka.
Not just in Lusaka, across the nation.
Okay, that's important.
Go to ShopRite, CompuTicket, and in case you are unable to get to ShopRite CompuTicket, you can then call the number that I'll just mention here.
Okay.
Which is, so for those that are maybe outside Zambia, so you can add +26. So it is +26 0975 76 5736.
Okay, let me do +260. Tell me if this is correct. 975 765 736.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So and the tickets are going for 100 kwacha, standard, 300 kwacha, gold, then 2,000 kwacha, platinum. And this just goes to underscore one thing. The gatherings are meant for, different categories of people. So those that are doing extremely well, the principles taught are very applicable to them. And those that are starting out, the principles taught are still applicable to them. And since it is a movement and it is a revolution, we are not leaving anybody behind. So everyone has to be part of this. And it is extremely important that those that can gather really do get together.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. All right. So this is going to be at on 4th of July, like we have said. Basically, interesting. Today is 4th of June, 30 days from today.
30 days from today. So 4th of July is a Monday. It is a holiday. And interestingly, the 5th of July is a holiday as well.
Yes.
So for those traveling, and we deliberately chose that date because we wanted those that are traveling from other towns and other countries, can actually come in quite easily, then be able to, move back to their respective, towns the following day, without worrying about work and, their businesses, because it will still be a holiday.
Excellent, excellent. So what should be the expectations to those who are going to attend? How does the program look like? And you could probably, if it's okay, you can mention 1 or 2 speakers that are coming.
All right. So for the speakers, they'll be unveiled soon. But this is the masterclass with the radical entrepreneur. So now here's where the difference is. So when it is a conference, we tend to invite a keynote speaker who comes in to join. When it is a masterclass, I am the keynote speaker as a radical entrepreneur. Just as the event indicates, it is the repositioning, or it is the redefining masterclass with the radical entrepreneur. So those that come in are just maybe curtain raisers and whatnot. But of course, we have a lady coming in again from Malawi. She did extremely well last year, amongst other speakers that will be speaking there. But the keynote certainly will be the radical entrepreneur. What makes this quite interesting is that the lessons, the pieces, and everything that will be shared there will be exceptionally great, very practical. We'll share amongst the key things. We'll be sharing on how you can build a business that can work on its own and not just depend on you. So we are looking at building a business that can work for you and not you always working for your business. And of course, marketing is one of the key aspects that we are going to drill on quite a bit, just to see how you can position your business, be it small, big, how you can position that business in terms of, marketing, even with a limited marketing budget. How do you go about this? And most importantly, branding is one of the key things that you are going to, share on. You see, we pay so much for certain brands. We pay so much for American brands from the UK. Much of the monies that we pay for the products that we have, much of it goes towards, the brand that you are buying. So how then do you create this brand? So branding is one of the things that you have not paid so much attention to. So this is something that we'll spend a bit of time to see how you can add, value in your brand and in the brand of your business.
Excellent. All right, everybody. So this is not a conference. This is the masterclass, right? Redefining masterclass. I like that. I like that. Kasuluba, you are going to have to come and bring a report here as you hang out at that place, and the other people that we are going to mobilize to send over there.
I'll be more than glad to join you again, possibly after the masterclass, just to share 1 or 2 things and see the wonderful things that you are doing. I'm super proud of the works that you're doing, and let's see how we can build this too.
Excellent. That is great. And the important part also is that now we know how to work things on a weekend as far as your schedule is concerned. I mean, standing in UK and saying, I'm dying to understand ways my business can work for themselves, the comment that she's making. And even other people here, I'm saying remarkable. Let's just show this. Yeah, Miss Naomi says remarkable story, and people like a quick, easy life and not ready to hustle. Yeah, we want to do quick money and stuff like that. So everybody, today we were honored and privileged to have the radical entrepreneur
Uncle
himself.
Nathan.
Yes.
Sorry to cut you short. Just before we go, I think we've been discussing and because we want to make Zambia Blog Talk the biggest in Zambia. So I like how Mr. Ncube here says he would like to see how we can actually work together. And he's the right person because
Yes.
he's into this, and we'll see how we can make this a household as well, Yeah, so we'll be in touch, and after the conference, would love to have you again. Or the masterclass.
That's true.
Sure.
And of course, I've seen on his Facebook page that media is coming up, right? All right, Dumisani?
Oh yes. I think you have a couple of very interesting things that that are actually cooking and building up.
Excellent. We have a lot coming up. Let's stay engaged. You will have a month before the masterclass happens at Hero Stadium. Instead of you going to watch soccer, why don't you go there and have some self-development take place at the stadium? Isn't that amazing?
Awesome.
Oh yes.
I love that. Well, Dumisani, thank you for taking the time, and we do appreciate this. I know we shall keep pushing on our end for people to get over there, and we shall ask them to, just like any school or class assignment, the teacher expects you to bring your work, and they will get a report from there. 4th of July, ladies and gentlemen, the number is scrolling at the bottom there. I know we always get people, how media works, Dumisani. We have more people watching recorded stuff than the live. So that's why we are scrolling the number there so that you are able to get your ticket at any ShopRite store outlet across the nation of Zambia. Thank you, everybody, Mr. Dumisani. We do appreciate your time very much, and we look forward to interacting and engaging with you again.
Thank you so much. Have a pleasant, is it day or evening that side?
Yeah, it's about almost 1 p.m. my time. 1300
hours.
Great. Yeah. Excellent. Great. All right, Kasuluwa. Good night, Mr. Dumisani, and everybody watching us. Yeah, join us next weekend. We'll be talking about fashion and constitutional laws, and we have fashion police in Zambia. Iris Kaingo's issue just raised a big storm. We shall talking about that next week. Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.